Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday. And sometimes on Friday we like to go leanings. Where are the leanings at? Well, we're not talking about Bugs Bunny and we're not talking about Donald Daffy Duck and we're not talking about Sylvester the Cat. We're talking about the Democratic Party of the United States of America. You see, one of the things that is just beyond our comprehension is at what point does a group of people get so brainwashed? They believe so much their own rhetoric that the rose-colored glasses, or maybe the blinders, I'm not sure which it is, they're running around with it still. Now, it isn't that long ago, November 2024, the Democrats got smushed. They lost the presidency by a landslide. But they're blaming Kamala Harris. They're blaming all kinds of things. Joe Biden, because God forbid you should look at the mirror and go, yeah, we blew it. We just completely blew it. No, we won't do that. And with the Senate and the House being somewhat tight, and an election being fall of 2026, yes, people, can you believe it? You're 17 months away from another election. The Democratic Party wants to position itself as the real party, the party that gets it. So, what are they doing, Stuart? Really simple. They're using rhetoric, non-stop rhetoric, to convince people that they must put the same blinders on to the realities of what's facing the United States. Good day, everybody. I am David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell, and welcome back to another edition of the Wacky and Whack Rent Network. I am in Montreal. He is in Florida. I'm Canadian. He's American. Yet we both look at politics and we're both questioning ourselves, going, what that is going on in the United States and beyond. What we do here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday noon, folks, is we just go through news, pop culture, crazy stuff, quirks of modern life, and so much more. We love to rant. It's our opinion. We share our opinions. And often we question the media and poke holes in it and discover the lies, the cover-ups, the ridiculousness that is the media, the left, and today. So sit back, folks, today. Enjoy this one, because we're going to be talking about whether or not we should be padding the Democrats' offices with some sort of white padding to help them as they go through their insanity. So, Stuart, I started off with a very vaguely, but very specifically, what's going on is that the Democrats did not realize they lost an election because they lost Middle America. Middle America, that's suffering from economic crisis, inflation, dinged from COVID, you name it. They're frustrated. Crime, immigration problems, you name it. And the Democratic Party wants you to believe, Stuart, that all the problems are Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump is an autocrat. I don't know if you heard, Stuart, but this week, good old-fashioned, good old president Barack Obama said, we're this close to an autocracy in the United States. Let's spew words that have no significance. Because at the end of the day, Stuart, what does the Democratic Party not have?
Leadership.
Number one. Number two?
A platform?
No. And you know what they don't have as number three, Stuart?
No, what?
A message that resonates with the other 77 million voters that voted for Donald Trump.
You know, David, thank you for the introduction. You know, what prompted this rant today? Because there's so much news going on, right? You've got China's secret planes to Iran. You've got Israel bombing and finally ridding the United States and the rest of the world from the head of the snake that we've talked about for 8 years and all of its disciples, right? Jasmine Crockett gets on the horn and decides to call well over half of the United States mental health nutballs.
No. She called them, the word she used, sick. She said that the United States has a mental health crisis because anybody who votes for Trump is sick.
So Jasmine Crockett's kind of an interesting girl, 44 years old, right? And who currently shows the net worth of over $9 million based on a $174,000 salary. So Miss Jasmine Crockett, a big mouth, obnoxious, potty mouth, disrespectful member of the House of Representatives who's 44 years of age, off your backs is now worth $9 million. And she does this unapologetically, and considering the fact that she does hold a Juris Doctorate, she has got to be the most classless broad I've ever. Well, she's a broad. She's a broad.
How old are you, broad?
Whoa. Yeah, she's not a lady. She's a broad. She's a barroom, middle of the road waitress, right?
Democrat from Texas, by the way.
I know. And it's hard to believe that the great state of Texas, has to take credit for her. And again, I don't know how she even remains there, but she is a member of the Democratic Party. She is one of several that we're going to talk about, which are the band of exemplary citizens of the United States, also known as AKA the quasi-leaders of the Democratic Party. Let's move on. Miss Ilhan Omar, who is paying an exorbitant amount of money to scrub her net worth off the internet. If you go right now and go to Ilhan Omar and say, what is her net worth? You'll find out anything after 2019 has been wiped from the pages of the internet. Let me tell you something, David. That is a very interesting feat to do. And you know what else? This racist Somalian who really hates America, but yet she couldn't be in her own country, representing her country in any capacity, because they'd put her into a room and say, you're not allowed out in public without your man. But here she likes to go over and over and over and over again and blame the United States as being the big Satan, because she is a backer of the regimes that kill Americans. She is never going to renounce Hezbollah. She's never going to renounce the Ayatollah Khomeini. She's never going to renounce any part of these people. But let's move forward. She is the second leader of the Democratic Party. Let's now talk about Rashida Tlaib. She literally runs around supporting Hamas. She wears a hijab, she says, from the river to the sea. She claims to be another member of the leadership of the Democratic Party. All right, let's just move on. Gavin Newsom, kind of like Trump's new coin of his pet buddy. Gavin Newsom just got eviscerated by the 9th District Court. What eviscerated? He was trying to stop the National Guard from going in and bringing law and order to the streets of LA. David, I don't know about you, but isn't Gavin Newsom, who's now a podcast hero, who has aspirations of being the president of the United States, who was probably absent in chief when the hills of LA were in flames, backed his mayor who was at a party outside the country and failed to dispatch the water that he should have and she should have. But Gavin Newsom wants to pay attention that he claims a victory lap over Donald Trump getting the most liberal court, the 9th District Court, to support Trump. How did he support Trump? Because they allowed the National Guard as being a total legal action. And the only reason why that could occur is that Gavin Newsom and the mayor of LA failed to do their civic duty. Again, another leader of the Democratic Party. Let's get over to the Bronx. I love New York. Yes, I do love New York. Once upon a time, probably predates AOC. But let's talk about Miss AOC. She is another member of the squad, another vitriol anti-Semite, which I must add, who backs Rashida Tlaib, who backs Ilhan Omar from the river to the sea. Yet she's worth how many millions of dollars on the backs of New Yorkers? Let's move on. If you take the basket of people I just mentioned, David, what is the message that all these people have?
It's very simple. Criticize the people that feed you.
You know, you and I studied poli-sci at some point in our academic career. What is the keynote purpose of a political party is to have what kind of statement?
Well, it's got to be a clear statement that obviously resonates.
A statement that may promote your values,
Oh
that
yeah,
promotes the
yeah.
party's mission.
Yeah.
How about to describe what the people in which you're elected to serve in the government? Aren't they elected officials, David?
Apparently, they're elected, but elected for their own benefit, not for your benefit, not for mine. It's all about them.
What do you mean, David? I mean, if I paid you $150,000 a year and within 4 years you're worth $9, $10, $15 million,
Who cares
is there
apparently?
a
In your
problem with
country,
that?
no one cares.
Now, let's now add in the likes of Bernie Sanders, who used to walk around saying millionaires and billionaires. We've got to tax the millionaires and billionaires. We got to tax the corporations that are pilfing America. You know, Mr. Bernie Sanders has been in politics for what, nearly 60 years?
Okay.
Something about that? Mr. Bernie Sanders no longer utters the word millionaires. You want to know why, David?
Because he's a millionaire himself.
You know, because he's worth over $20 million. Okay. So, David, and he also claims from the river to the sea is a wonderful place to be, so long as Jews aren't there to be. So the common thread of the Democratic Party seems to be what, David? A party of love and affection and pro-American values?
No, it's all about hate and divisiveness.
Sounds kind of like another gentleman in modern history. Do you remember his name?
You're going down that road, aren't you?
Absolutely. Come on, David. Who is it?
Stuart, you can name several of them, but if you want to call them the Hitlers or the Stalins of this world, go for it.
They are the Stalins.
They're not Hitlers. They're Hitlers. No, they are. No, they are. I agree with you. They're the Stalinists. The Stalinists who don't want anybody to question them, who kept all the beautiful stuff for themselves and made the people suffer for it, and really mind fucked a population. Need I say more?
David, it's not only mind screw, it's vehemently lying to the American people every time they grab the microphone. Yet they somehow seem to keep getting reelected.
There's a reason.
Get it. I don't get it.
Stuart, but you're a smart guy. You know why. When you tie in politicians and a media, right, Stuart? Think about it. Politicians and media, when they work together, you tie a message. And here's what's happened. Katie Couric was the one who was on her podcast. It was Jasmine Crockett was on her podcast. And that's where she said her statement. Did Katie Couric question it? No. Did anybody question Hillary Clinton when she called them deplorables? No. Does anybody question anybody in the Democratic Party? Chuck Todd, NBC, does he question? No, they don't. Because to them, the only party that matters is the Democratic Party of the United States of America. It's not about conservatism. It's not about if you dare question a Democrat, you're the one who's got a mental illness, according to Jasmine Crockett. You have decided that going with Trump makes more sense. I want to understand something. A party that promotes the violence and the destruction that we've seen in Los Angeles, a party that condoned what happened in Minnesota after Black Lives Matter, a party that went after Donald Trump on January 6th, called it an insurrection, but everything else the Democrats do is okay, just shows you what they stand for. Your favorite line, Stuart?
Rules for me and not for
anybody else. So the problem is, Stuart, when you've got a chunk of the media, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, and the likes, and then the podcasters, and then the bloggers, what you end up getting, Stuart, is a voice that says the same thing. Donald Trump's an autocrat. That's how I started this podcast. He is a king. That's why they have this no kings movement. That's why they keep calling him an autocrat. They're looking for a label to stick to him. Remember, he was a criminal. Oh, that didn't work. What can we call? What else can we call him? And that's all that the Democratic Party is trying to do. They have not provided one bit of a change. And you're right, it is a movement that you're trying to create, but it's looking more like a bowel movement and not like a real political movement, because the Democrats have this idea that emotion matters more than reality.
Yep.
They said there was no problem at the border for 3+ years, and then all of a sudden, of course, there's a problem. The Republicans won't pass our bill. They keep changing the narrative, assuming that you're stupid, assuming that you're just going to buy whatever the Democratic Party is going to believe. They learned nothing since the middle of 2024. They lied about Joe Biden and his ability to govern. They lied about Kamala Harris. They've lied consistently. Now, I'm not going to say the Republicans don't lie either, but I'm saying in this case, the disconnect is beyond reproach. Now, you see in New York, there's a mayor. They're going to try to go after the mayor. They're trying to be a mayor's race, and you see what the Democrats bring to the table: racists, hardcore racist. They'll say that Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a racist. She voted against Israel. Okay, every party has its outlier, but look at the number of people voting against U.S. needs. You just listed them: Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jasmine Crockett, Cory Bush, Bernie Sanders, Schiff, go on and on and on. These are, I'm sorry, I'll use a label. They're anti-American. If you want to start going after people with titles and labels, these are your anti-American politicians who've abused your system, have abused you, and have told you we've got a better plan. We're not going to tell you what the plan is. Here's the crazy part, Stuart, right?
Yep.
This big, beautiful bill with all its flaws, and there are flaws like every bill.
Yep.
He's cutting no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Yep. He's putting into middle class and lower middle class Americans more money in their pocket, raising wages that the Democrats have asked for, begged for. And the Democrats are saying, no, this is a bad idea. Why? Because it wasn't your idea? Because your name's not on it? Because you can't give Donald Trump the kudos? Stuart, on the other side, he's lowering taxes and he's raising wages. This is good news for middle America. And what are the Democrats saying?
Yeah, but David, these are rules that the Democrats, like the tariffs that were put in on the first Trump administration, are never going to be walked back. It's no difference than the introduction of Social Security, the introduction of the Health Care Act. David, this is, by any stretch of definition, the only way the Democrats come to power is by creating a party of extreme hate. By creating a movement based off of hate, because everything that the Republican parties have put forward thus far, there are flaws, 100%. It's all been about the people.
Well, Stuart, I'm going to wrap this up like this. When you listen to the Democrats speak at every rally, at every speech, it's about how hateful things are. Donald Trump had no right to call in the National Guard. Apparently he did. Donald Trump has every time you hear Donald Trump has no right, he's exercising his power as an autocrat. I don't know. The courts so far haven't said that. And in the meantime, if the big, beautiful bill gets passed before Independence Day, as he's hoping for, it continues to be a win for America, not so much for the Republicans, but for the American. And if the Democrats actually really want to affect change, play your cards, not the race card. But what the hell?
Find a leader for the people, by the people.
No, that's not going to happen, because we need somebody who's spiteful. That's it, folks. Stuart is playing the music, so that's it for another week of the Rant Network, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you found this week's episode's really great. Check us out on all the social channels. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on the rantnetwork.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until Monday.